Hi, this is Zach Wheeler. Welcome to the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It's Monday morning, March 24th, 2025, the last day in Clearwater. The Phillies, after today's Grapefruit League game against the Rays, they're flying north. I'm flying north. Ruben, you're flying north, right? Are you staying a couple days? You're going north?
No, I'm flying with the team.
There you go. There you go. I saw Ruben, Jim. I saw Ruben on Saturday. They had the Darren Dalton Foundation had an event on Saturday at the ballpark, and Ruben was guest bartending. But I asked Ruben to make me a
slinging it.
He was slinging it. I asked him though. I said, "Can you make me a fuzzy navel?" He said he couldn't do it. So, he says he's only slinging beers.
Should have had him.
I was doing drinks.
Ruben was working hard.
Yeah, I worked hard for literally three or 4 hours straight.
I was watching.
I did not get back from behind the bar. It was a nice effort. I was efforting.
It was. Kyle Kendrick was there. A lot of like Phillies alumni were there. Rob Thomson stopped by after the Grapefruit League game over in Tampa against the Yankees, so he made an appearance. And it was slammed. It was a great event. But Ruben, I do give you credit because I was watching. I was like, man, this guy is. You were working back there, working for tips.
I was working for tips, and some people gave some great tips and really supportive of the Darren Dalton Foundation. Great foundation. Brett Datto, Scott Freeze, so many other ones. They do a really nice job there, and there's a lot of Tommy Green. Big part of that. It was pretty cool. Steve Jeltz, I think, was there. Hey, we saw Jason Michaels.
Jason Michaels was there. You're right.
Jason Michaels was slinging it. Kyle Kendrick, as you said. I'm sure I'm going to miss some people there.
Robert Person.
Robert Person was there, right?
Robert Person. Purse.
Crazy.
Yeah. Some local
It was
fun.
fun. It was fun. So
great work. That organization does great work.
Yeah, they do. It's awesome. They do a tremendous job. So guys, it's the last day of camp, and the opening day roster is pretty much crystallized at this point. We kind of know everything that's going to go on, other than that last spot on the bench. It's really down between Kody, Clemens, and Buddy Kennedy. I expect today at some point they will make an announcement on who they've chosen. But before we maybe talk about that and which way they might go, the pitching staff is pretty much crystallized. Now, yesterday during the game, Rob Thomson said, well, we're going to announce, we've already announced it, so I'll tell you, Ranger Suárez is opening the season on the injured list. Then after the game, he goes, expected to open the season on the injured list. I don't think he meant to announce it on the broadcast. That is absolutely happening, but I would say it's 99% certain he's going to open on the injured list. So if Ranger opens on the injured list with the sore lower back, Taijuan Walker is going to slide into that fifth spot in the rotation. Short term, they think. And then yesterday they claimed a right-hander, Carlos Hernández from the Royals. He's going to be the last man in the bullpen. Tyler Phillips has been DFA'd, and that's pretty much your pitching staff now. What do you guys make of the moves yesterday? Being safe with Ranger. Matt Strom obviously is trending in the right direction. He's going to pitch today on Monday, and assuming that goes well, he'll be in the bullpen to start the season.
I think it was one of those moves. There's a reason why the scouts are out there during the course of the spring is to look for players who are either out of options or guys who are like the lower half of those 40-man roster guys that might be bounced off the roster. And it's clear. I mean, somebody was watching. I don't know exactly who it was. I'll try to get a little inside scoop, but one or two of the scouts probably saw Hernandez pitch out there in Arizona for Kansas City. Probably felt like there was some more upside with him than a guy like Tyler Phillips. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And I think that's why I think it's really important to have, eyes and ears and history on guys. I mean, Hernandez has some history in the bullpen. He's put up some numbers. He's got a big arm. maybe Caleb Cotham, maybe somebody in their pitching staff or one of their analytics folks saw something that they liked in the guy, lightning in a bottle.
Mhm.
Guy's not going to pitch a ton, they probably hope. So maybe they can grab somebody and see if that guy can help them out a little bit more than what they saw out of, Phillips and some of the other guys who were in camp.
A little bit of a history in that regard, targeting hard throwers, big arms from other organizations that maybe have had some issues, control or command, and try to scrub them up a little bit. Alvarado being one of them. I know he came in more of a trade, and it was a little more high profile than just a waiver claim. But he's a case in point of that big arm, and they've really made something out of him with their pitching program. So I think that is kind of like Ruben said, turn him over to Cotham and his group and see what you can get out of him. Sort of the last guy in the bullpen, and you hope maybe, he can emerge into something more than that. But this organization really does, as a lot of organizations do, they gravitate toward guys who can really bring it. And that's what I see with this claim.
Yeah, the one thing is that he just hasn't been able to throw strikes. So he's kind of ran out of chances with the Royals.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm sure, right, guys, that they hope that they can maybe make an adjustment. Next thing you know, he's pounding the strike zone a little bit more, and it's like, oh my gosh, we can't believe they picked up Carlos Hernández. So yeah, Rangers can open on the IL, expected to, even though Rob said he will.
And that's no surprise. Come on, that's
right.
That's the move you got to make.
That I would have been very surprised if they would have said today, you know what, after playing catch on Saturday and Sunday, we think Rangers can make his first turn in the rotation, or he can be back before the end of that Dodgers series, which ends on April 6th. I would have been very, very surprised. There's no reason to rush him back. He's had the back issues over his career. It derailed his entire second half last year. If it's sore right now, just take him along slowly, knock it out. They think it's a short-term thing. He might only miss one start, maybe two starts. If they start him on the injured list, they can backdate it 3 days. He could be back as early as April 8th, that first game in Atlanta, if they think he's ready by then. So it might only be one start. And if that means he's healthy the rest of the season, that's the only choice you really should be considering at this point.
Yeah, it's a totally different situation from Strom. And it's the other guy, the other piece of the puzzle, Matt Strom. I guess either pitch today in today's game, and if he feels fine, then I guess he will make the team. At least that's the feeling I have. But Matt Strom doesn't really have any history, just like Ranger does, and he seems to be progressing this way. So a little bit of a different situation for Strom as opposed to where Ranger Suárez is.
Let me ask you guys this. How far does this knock Ranger back, though? Because my question would be, how much was he actually built up? I mean, he wasn't really letting it go early, right? And then he had that one good start, and then he's hurting. I don't know where he is on his kind of, ramp-up ladder. So, okay, if he comes back and only misses one start, two starts, they're going to still have to be quite judicious with his workload, because it just appears that he's still building it.
Could you piggyback him or something like that? Maybe
Right.
If you maybe have him go 3 innings at the beginning and follow him with Taijuan. I don't know. Is that an option, Ruben? Is that something you would consider?
I think it's probably an option just because they seemingly want to limit his innings early anyway, because they saw what happened last year as far as him getting out. I mean, last year was the first time. This is again, this is nothing new for Ranger. He almost never gets out of spring training healthy. And so he's only been healthy maybe once in his whole career, like truly healthy coming out of spring training. I don't have all the history, but I,
You're right.
And so I think they, like you said, it was great, SAT word you dropped on us on judicious there, Jim.
It's a Stanford word.
Quite the wordsmith you are. But I think that there is a strong possibility that they could piggyback. You make a great point, Todd. And I wouldn't be surprised by that happening. You typically like to have a guy ramp up and be ready, get to 80 or 85 pitches and be ready to roll. But in his case, since they want to sort of limit his innings anyway early, that might be the ticket.
It's definitely a way to control the innings, control the workload, make sure he's ready, so you can get the bulk of it later on, provided he's producing and providing he's pitching well. You're not going to put him on the mound if he's not pitching well. They need contribution from this guy. This guy needs to have a good season, and you need most of it, after April. So I could see them being careful with him, even when he's activated.
So for people that don't know how the rotation is set up right now, obviously Zach Wheeler is starting on Thursday, opening day in Washington. Jesus Luzardo is going to pitch game 2. That's Saturday. Aaron Nola is going to pitch the series finale in Washington on Sunday. And then the home opener, Christopher Sanchez. Zach Wheeler is going to pitch the second game of that series. And then Taijuan Walker, who's now the number 5 starter, is going to pitch the series finale against the Rockies on April 3rd. And then after that, that Dodgers series, it's going to be Jesus Luzardo, Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez. And then April 8th, again, if they would think that Ranger Suárez could come back when his 15 days are up, theoretically, he could come back and pitch April 8th. There's a long way to go before we get to that point. So
give me your wagers. Is he pitching April 8th, Todd?
I say no. I say no.
I say no. Ruben?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think is Zach Wheeler, is that his day too? Is it Zach Wheeler April 3rd and April 8th or no?
Well, Zach is pitching.
I haven't looked back at it.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'd have to go take a look. I'd have to take a look at that because I think there's an off day there. I haven't. That's So I guess it's possible they could keep. Zach likes to stay on turn. So, but they also have said that we understand he likes to stay on turn, but we also want to manage everybody's innings as much as we can. So, the reason why they skipped the 5th starter that first time is because Zach still got the extra day because of the day off. So,
and they still have some luxury with that because of the fact that they have Ross, who hasn't been stretched out,
right?
But he can get 3. They can get 3 or 4 innings probably out of the guy.
And Carlos, Carlos. They feel like they have several multi-inning guys in that bullpen that they can muscle through if they need to. So. One of them being Carlos Hernández. Maybe he can give him 2 quality innings. The last bench job, guys, is now down to Kody Clemens or Buddy Kennedy. Well, we could know literally before the show even hits the air, I guess, possibly. They could announce it. Do we have any feelings on who's going to get that job? I think it's going to be Kody Clemens, but on the other hand, I'm sitting there going, if Kody Clemens makes a team as the bench guy, when is he ever going to play? How, because he's a left-handed bat in a lineup filled with left-handers. So I don't know what the pinch hitting opportunities he's going to get are. How is that going to work exactly? So maybe there's a spot for Buddy Kennedy, but Cody's had a better spring, I would say.
Cody is coming into camp, and he's hit 300. He's had a great. The strikeouts are a little high, but he's had a really nice camp. Came in there and to me earned it. So I know it's a predicament having too many left-handed bats, but I'll always, and I know you have to plan for those platoon kind of situations, but and pinch hitting opportunities, but sometimes you just want to have a good bat, take the better bat. So that's kind of the way I view it.
I think you go with Kody Clemens, and then it becomes even more complicated and a good complication when Weston Wilson's ready, and he's getting closer. He needs at bats. But he's progressing. Weston Wilson becomes a guy. Now, Weston does have options, much to his dismay, I'm sure. But it's a good thing for the Phillies that they feel like, again, another one of those situations where he's probably their best option. But if he's not needed at the major league level, they can still park him in Lehigh Valley. And he can be there playing every day and ready to go if something were to happen at the major league level because he can play a variety of positions.
Yeah, so the roster is almost set. We'll find out. By the time the Phillies board that plane, we will know. Guys, it is Monday. It's time for Manco and Manco Best Week. Manco and Manco Best Week, the best of the best. It's where we pick our best Phillies player, performance, moment, play, whatever we want to do. I can't remember who led off last week. Jim, why don't you lead off this week? Are you prepared?
Oh boy,
I'm prepared, my man.
The leadoff, the leadoff, big issue on this team.
Like the Phillies, we don't know who's going to lead off from day to day.
How many pitches are you going to take, Jim? How many pitches are you going to take?
Oh,
how many are you going to see? Are you going to be able to get it ready for the next couple of guys or what?
Well, it is the last day of camp, so I hope he's first pitch swinging, Ruben.
I am swinging at the
Just
as they
ask
say.
My man Frank Pulley. Swing the bat, son. Swing the bat.
That's so funny. Frank Pulley on getaway day, man.
Frank Pulley, I'll tell the story. I was leading off.
Yeah.
I think we were breaking camp. I think it was 1998 or 1997. I can't remember where it was. And he did a lot of our games in Jack Russell Stadium back then. And I stepped to the plate, and he looked at me and he said, son, swing the bat. And I said, no problem. First pitch, 4-3, roll over. Perfect. 1 out. 1 pitch, 1 out. Let's move it along. I think we played a game in like an hour and 20 minutes.
From your lips to God here today, Ruben.
Those were the days when umpires had personality and there were characters and you knew their names. And now, honestly, almost literally and figuratively, the officiating is robotic in the sport.
Great point.
That is
Great point.
But Frank Pulley was a trip. Jerry Crawford, all those guys. Eddie Montague. Good umpires, too. So my best of the best, I'm going to color a little bit outside the lines here, Todd. I know you love when I do that.
Hope you don't take my idea.
Oh, boy. If I take your idea, then, you batted me lead off, and I'm the first good pitch. I'm driving it.
All right.
So I'm going. My best of the best is Justin Crawford.
Very good.
He is my best of the best.
Wow.
So came into camp, got an invite to big league camp, made a really nice showing, hit over 300. And, this guy has only played 40 games at AA, but based on his performance and what they've seen in the past, his body of work, he's going to go to AAA at age 21. I think it's been to me, the biggest bit of news in the last handful of days is that Justin Crawford is going to AAA at age 21, and he's going to play center field. And you don't have to have a telescope to see the potential grand plan here off into the distance in the future, and this future might not be that far away. And it's all based on production and playing well for everybody involved. But if this kid plays well in center field at AAA at age 21, well below the league average age, I mean, that's how much of a push this is, a fast track this is. He's going to put pressure on whoever plays center field. He's going to put pressure, good competitive pressure on Brandon Marsh. And maybe you get more out of Marsh. Maybe Justin Crawford shows that he's ready in a year. I can see, and I'm sure they're talking about it. I'm positive they're talking about it. You can see a grand plan emerging here of maybe Justin Crawford in center field as soon as 1 year from now. And you can also extend that to Aiden Miller, the shortstop, is going to open at AA. You could see him at shortstop a year from now. And the grand plan would maybe include Trey Turner going to left field and Justin Crawford in center field. So you can see, the gears in work, coming into play here and working a little bit, depending on how everybody plays. Crawford, Marsh, Miller, Turner. But there's things going on, and it all, so my best of the best is Justin Crawford had a heck of a spring. I mean, if he came in here and didn't look that good, you probably, they sent him back to AA. But 21 years old, fast tracking him, and we're fascinated to watch what he does this year, and the good positive pressure he puts on people in the big leagues, and how he plays at AAA to determine his readiness for down the road.
And let me dovetail onto that a little bit. Dave Dombrowski's not afraid to bring young players to the big leagues. I will tell you that. He's old school, but he also believes that he feels the guy's ready. He'll bring him. I remember making that move with Andrew Benintendi. I was part of that discussion when they were thinking about trading at the time, maybe for Carlos Beltran, I think it was, and putting him in left field. They had an opportunity to do that, and they just said, you know what? This kid Benintendi, he'll be every bit as good. And he ended up going to the big leagues and really helping out the team at the bottom of the lineup. Low pressure, great team, added to the ball club. And the reality of it is that Crawford, if he comes to the big leagues, and it may even be before the end of the season that he comes and becomes a center fielder. And it does put that kind of pressure. I think it's a positive pressure on some guys that are there, Rojas and Marsh. Hey, man, competition is the best thing in the world. And unless you're an established major league player, and I think Marsh can be that guy, I think a lot of people feel that way, but you do have to, it's a performance-based game, and you have to come through. So I think it's great stuff. I think you make two great points on two really, really good players who are awfully close. And again, young, and Dave Dombrowski will not be afraid. Todd, what do you got?
Well, this is coloring outside the lines here a little bit, but I went with Rafael Marchand and Garrett Stubbs. Marchand finally making his opening day roster. We kind of knew what was going to go on this season, but you felt good for him. A guy has worked ridiculously hard over the years, had some bad luck with injuries, but he makes the team. And obviously he was thrilled to do it. But I also mentioned Garrett Stubbs because, we had him on the show on Thursday after he got optioned, and just his attitude after being sent down, how he's, he could have taken the full 72 hours to report to minor league camp, just gone home and decompressed for a few days and then kind of got there. But we talked to him on Thursday. I talked to him on Thursday. I said, when are you going to go over there? He's like, I'll be there tomorrow. And sure enough, he was there the next day doing a live BP against Andrew Painter. And in typical Garrett Stubbs fashion, this big kind of crowd of front office people and players come over to the minor league side of the field he was hitting on. And he's kind of holding the bat, and he goes, wow, a lot of people coming to watch us hit, kind of like as a goof, because he knows they weren't coming to watch Garrett Stubbs hit. They were coming to watch Andrew Painter pitch. But he was still being the same type of guy, the same Garrett Stubbs. And he wants to go down there, and he wants to help the young pitchers. He wants to help Mick Abel. He wants to work with these guys and try to make a contribution at the minor league level. So when those guys get called up to the big leagues, even if he's still in Lehigh Valley, maybe they can perform a little bit better to help the team win the division, to help the team win a World Series. So Garrett Stubbs and Rafael Marchand, my best week. Manco.
I will say, let me tell you, I had a private conversation with Rob Thomson about it. And he said, Ruben, I probably sent out, he said he sort of calculated it over the years. He probably sent out the major league level, maybe, and been in pretty much every one of those meetings as either a bench coach or a manager, well over 800 to 1,000 players. He said, without question, it was the hardest one he's ever had to do or be involved in. Wow. That's saying something. And the way the kid handled it, I say kid, he's a man. He's a man's man, and he's a professional. And the way he handled it was just spectacular. And proud of him. Glad to know him. He's a very articulate, smart, intelligent. I'm being redundant, but wonderful person. And the Phillies are lucky to have him.
Is he your Manco best of the best?
He is not.
Oh boy, hold on. Let me give it a drum roll here.
Again, I'm going to color a little bit outside the lines because I see this as a kind of a holistic look. I got Max Kepler, and Max Kepler came into camp. There's a big deal. It was sort of a big deal. Like, how are they going to make this outfield better? Because it was one of the least productive outfields in the game as far as offense is concerned. And there's some question marks about Max Kepler. Been in the league a long time, sort of dropping off a little bit. Had a tough year with health and core and all types of stuff last year. But he comes into camp, man, and he made an adjustment. He worked hard in the offseason. And his at-bats first of all, he plays left field flawlessly. I watched him and keyed on him as far as his outfield is concerned. No transition issue at all for him. Really good athlete. But the dude had the most quality at bats per cap than anybody on the team.
Right.
His at bats, his ability to put the ball in play hard consistently, all the things you sort of want to see from a new player in a new organization. He admittedly was a little nervous about, moving over after being 10 or 12 years or whatever it was over in Minnesota and going into a new clubhouse. And nothing but positives from the guy. He's been outstanding, and hopefully it carries over. You never know. You can get deked in spring training, as you know. I even had good springs, and then I sucked during the year. But but this guy really has performed well, and he's my Manco best of the week.
Ruben,
the camp.
Of the camp, yeah. It's funny because we do talk a lot about like what does spring training numbers mean for a guy like Trey Turner who's maybe working on something, not so much. Bryce Harper, you don't worry about. Kyle Schwarber, you don't really worry about it. For Max Kepler, talking to Kevin Long and Rob Thomson, they said, yeah, usually, we don't put much stock in the spring training numbers, but for a guy like Max Kepler coming into a new environment, making the mechanical adjustments he made to his swing. Remember, he was kind of straight up last season with the Twins. He's flattened his bat a little bit. He's moved a little bit closer to the plate. They said for a guy like that, you kind of want him to enjoy some success this spring so he can kind of believe that the adjustments that he's made are actually working. So in the case of Max Kepler, like you said, to see him come out and actually perform, there is some significance to that. I mean, we'll see if it carries into the season, but it was definitely good to see this spring.
Yeah, that you make an adjustment with Kevin Long and you have success with it. I mean, now you built a trusting bond between Long and the hitter. And that could benefit the hitter and the Phillies throughout the season. So really important. He made an adjustment, had a good spring.
In that vein, I want to give an honorable mention. I'm thinking more globally to Alvarado. Alvarado was outstanding, and the confidence that he has built. He as far as the guys in the bullpen are concerned, big question mark. Which Alvarado are you going to get? Comes into camp, great shape, firing, throwing strikes pretty consistently, and hopefully he can carry it over for the Phils as well, because he'll be an important piece, especially early with Strom being monitored through this thing early in the season.
We might need two Manco pizzas to spread all this best.
What's wrong? Around. What's better than one pizza?
Yeah, hey, it's two. Well, real funny. Ruben, you talked a lot about Alvarado, like feeling confident, needing to feel confident. I mean, he has really been upbeat this spring, and everybody knows he's been throwing the ball really well. So yesterday on the backfield, the pitchers are throwing, and at the end of it, Alvarado is in a squat, and I can't remember who was throwing to him, but he was catching. So he's kind of like, bringing the glove up and he's framing it. And Rob Thomson comes by and he goes, leave him alone. Like, do not get him off get him off his legs. Don't touch this dude. He's doing well. Let's not get him, let's get him off from behind the plate, the fake behind the plate, stop his catching career. Let's get him back into the clubhouse, keep him safe. So he's doing well. One last thing, guys, before we wrap it up is, man, we've talked a lot about the lineup this spring and all off season. And one day it's Trey Turner and the next day it's Kyle Schwarber hitting lead off. And it is funny because every time the lineup gets tweeted out or put out there, everybody goes, this is it. This is the opening day lineup. And the next day it's like, well, maybe this is the opening day lineup. So finally we asked Rob Thomson after the game yesterday, we go, you guys, are you any closer? Are you gonna, or could you possibly have two lineups this season? And he says, we still might be experimenting early in the season, but there is a chance we could have a left-handed lineup and a right-handed lineup. So against a tough lefty on opening day, you could have Trey Turner leading off. Against a righty, you could have Kyle Schwarber leading off. So what do we think about that, guys? Maybe like a little platoon matchup lineup going forward this season.
I love it. I got no problem with it. I love it. I know that guys, want to feel comfortable in their slot and that kind of stuff. But they have a kind of guys, especially the first 4 or 5 hitters. I don't think they really care where they hit in the lineup. I think that they're professional enough and have been bounced around a little bit. Other than perhaps Harper. I think Harper probably wants to hit 2 or 3. But again, he's part of this formula as well. I just think that they're fine with it if they feel like this is the best thing for the team. And again, I mean, everybody's creature of habit, but I mean, what's the difference if you just move those first 4 guys? If you're sort of flipping them, they're all going to hit in the first inning, basically, or be prepared to do so, or hit the most during the course of the year if they stay healthy. And I got no problem with the lefty righty because there's going to be some tough left-handers in this league. You got Sale. They're going to see Mackenzie Gore right out of the chute, who's dealt against them at times. Might see Turner leading off against Mackenzie Gore. And then, against one of their right-handers, might see Schwarber leading off. And that's okay. Got no problem with it. It's about producing runs, as many runs as you possibly can, and putting that formula together to do so.
I don't think guys care where they hit until they're not hitting. That's when all of a sudden they start wondering, well, why am I scuffling? And they start coming up with a million reasons.
That's true.
Deep down inside, I think ball players like routine, and they like to, know where they're going to be in their roles in the bullpen, and they like to know where they're going to be in the lineup. But I also think sometimes when you're thinking of modifying the lineup, it might take a little bit longer than 28 spring training games when, middle of the game, you're facing JV pitchers, when you have a ton of guys to look at. So I can see what I'm saying is I can see Rob extending his evaluation a little bit longer here, but at some point I would think he has to arrive at something, and that something is going to be kind of what works. And Schwarber has worked over. I know it's an unpopular, he's unorthodox, and it's an unpopular lineup construction with some people, but it's popular with others. And the thing that matters most is they put up a lot of W's when he leads off. And they have over 3 years. They didn't go to the postseason for 10 straight years. All of a sudden he arrives, hits leadoff. They go to the postseason 3 years in a row. So, but I do agree, leading off with Trey Turner might result in a better Trey Turner, a better version of Trey Turner, maybe a little more selective, maybe thinking line drive more, thinking like a leadoff man might help him, might get a better offensive player out of Trey Turner. So I actually think they have two good options if those 2 guys produce. And once we see the top of this lineup producing, Rob will come up with a more of an everyday consistent lineup.
Yeah, the quote that Rob said yesterday, I used this morning was regarding the lineup. He said, "Hopefully, we'll find out soon." So that means probably through the first week of the season. How guys adjust to it, that's a big question, because I know that guys like being in the same spot every day. It's just hard to do that every day, but we want to figure out if we can maximize our offense. So yeah, he understands that guys like to know where they're going to hit, and he understands the importance of routine. But he wants to win, and he wants to try to get the most out of the offense. So maybe this is the way to go. I agree. I mean, I like the idea in theory, if everybody's on board, and if everybody's okay. One day I'm leading off, one day I'm hitting second for Schwarber. One day I'm leading off, one day I'm hitting fourth. But I do like that idea. I think it could be fun.
Regardless of what you hit, where you hit, your approach is get a good pitch to hit. How can I get to first base? Runners on base. How can I deliver this? Move this runner, deliver this run. I mean, those are textbook consistent approaches of a lineup. It's like that story you wrote last year. When you're talking top 4 or 5, does it really matter? How many runs does it change in the course of a season? Whether you hit 2 or 3, 1 or 2, right? Tell us those stats you looked up. Do you have them?
Well, it was basically like it was like maybe a couple runs over the entire course, theoretically over the course of the season. The only time a lineup would really matter based off all these simulations would be if you took Turner, Schwarber, and Harper, you hit him 7, 8, and 9.
Right, which you're not going to do.
Yeah, that's what we call the fire the manager lineup. And then you see a big, massive drop because you're taking your 3 best hitters and you're giving him so many fewer plate appearances. But you're right. Yeah, it's the difference is negligible. And this isn't just the current manager saying this. I remember Joe Girardi said this, and it goes back even further than that. The difference is negligible, really. When you get right down to it. So
put your best guys up high and get them the most at bats you can get them, and then they got to produce.
The bottom line is this: win the game. Win the game you play today. And if I can put my players in the best position to have success, then I got a chance to win the game. Better chance to win that game today. So. And that's why I don't have any problem with them tweaking the lineup, especially lefty-righty. It's been happening. It's happened for years. I mean, Jim Fregosi had 2 lineups in 1993. 3 different platoons.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if it works, go with it. And I do think that if this lefty-righty shift, if it has success, guess what? He's going to stay with it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, he's not.
And that's why he stayed with Schwarber, who was an unorthodox leadoff man, because they had success and they won games.
That's correct.
That's right. Guys, that's right. Final spring training game today, guys. So we're out of here after this.
So our next podcast will be the eve of opening day.
Yes,
and that will be our 1-year anniversary of the.
That'll be an anniversary. Pod. I was thinking about that, Todd Pod.
That's right.
Todd Pod bringing us all together as one.
It all started with, hey, you want to do a podcast? Sure. You want?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, behind the scenes, like, huh? Oh, yeah, sure. You know, hey, what?
Call me up.
Hey.
I was kind of surprised that Todd actually asked me because I thought, I don't have the writing skills that the other 2 fellows have.
Oh, you bring more to the table than us, Ruben.
We needed you, Ruben, because you complete us.
Oh, you complete me, Jim.
It's a Jerry Maguire moment right here.
Yes. What is it? Is that this one?
Yeah, the heart. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, so we'll kind of have our unofficial 1-year anniversary show before opening day. So, yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back later this week, and then we'll be back on, I guess, Friday morning, maybe to react on the first game of the season. Overreact to the first
overreact.
Game.
Everybody overreacts on opening day.
If the Phillies lose, is this the lineup?
End of the season.
The best one ever
baby.
Was.
Everyone.
I remember back in the 90s, or maybe it was the 80s, I don't know, but there was a lot of hype around the Red Sox, and they lost on opening day, and the back page of the Boston Herald was, wait till next year.
That is the truth. Like, on one hand, I love opening day, but on the other hand, like first, I also like, let's just get this one out of the way because the overreaction to a loss is just...
It's picked apart like a football game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you got 161 more to go, guys. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Yeah. So we'll be back later this week. Guys, that was fun. Smell you later.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.